Hello, welcome to part 7 of creating a FPS in Unity. Last time, what did we look at last time? I am actually going to look at my notes of what we did before. So we provoked the enemy and then we got our weapon system involved, and I think we might have done our zoom. I'm thinking that's what we might have done. So this week, as you can see, my game has already changed, and what I've done is added another weapon in. So what I've done, if you can see here from my player hierarchy, I've got weapons, I've then got my pistol, which was really before, and now I've got a shotgun. So there's my pistol, and if I get rid of my pistol, I'll get my shotgun. There we go. So as you can see, if we look at the pistol and we look at the shotgun, I've changed some things only slightly. So with the shotgun, the range and the damage. So the damage is now a lot higher because it's a shotgun. The range is a lot shorter, because number one, it's a shotgun. FPS camera is still the same. Muzzle flash, I've changed that slightly because I downloaded a pack, so you can drag in a different muzzle flash from there. All I made sure, and then again, just like the muzzle flash I did before with muzzle flash 1 on the pistol, was I dragged it to the bottom, and then bottom of the component of my pistol, and then I made sure when I looked through my muzzle flash and I clicked onto it here and then I went onto smoke and things like that, I made sure, and you can see here, play on awake was checked off. I made sure it did not play when I started the game, which is really, really important. So I'd done that with the second muzzle flash as well, and then added that to my shotgun. So now what I'm hoping to do today is to swap between these two weapons. So at the moment I've got my shotgun firing, and as you know, it implements everything just like before. Fantastic. So that's working absolutely fine. So what I need to do is, once I've implemented all those things in, and we've got our ammo slot as well, that came in, and again it's got the same amount of bullets, but we can change that a little bit later because obviously that's being controlled by the player at the moment. What we need to look at today is switching between the two, where we go to active and then we swap round to our pistol or to our shotgun. Okay, so what we need to do first is I'm going to make both of them active. That will make life a little bit easier. And then we're going to right click, create C# script, and we are going to call this weapon active. Lovely. Once we've got that weapon active script, we're going to drag this, and actually we can just click on weapons because it's gone. Oh, is it already? Oh, I already dragged it on there. There we go. That's working, and already dragged on there like that. Lovely. That compiled quite quickly, didn't it? Thank you, Unity. So what we're going to do is open this weapon active script. Hopefully my behavior will click in. There we go. It's gone blue. Lovely. Fantastic. So what we need to be aware of is the weapon systems. The weapon system is almost going to be used like an array, but we're going to use something called for each. And this will allow us to transform between 1 and 2, and then between 0 and 1. So if 0 is our pistol, 1 is our shotgun. So what we can do for a for each is add 1 as we go on, so we have an index of this. We could use an array as well. That's perfectly fine, but an array can have multiple objects up at one time and activate multiple objects at one time. For each is exactly what it says, for each one. Okay, so one of them is active only at one time. So let's start by, let's say, private integer and then current weapon. Let's stick with equals to 0, which will be our pistol. Okay, and we'll serialize that field. So because we want to test this and see if this works within. Come on, there we go. We want this to work within our inspector. Fantastic. So first things first is let's create a new method, and that is going to be a private void set weapon active. Lovely. So this will activate between our weapons. Okay, cool. So once we've got that, we can then create a little mini variable within, so a smaller variable within our set weapon active. So we can say we can have a weapon index. So this will be how we transition from one gun to the other. There we go. So we'll call weapon index. So that won't like that for now because we haven't set what actual weapon index is doing. So what we're going to say is for each. And we can say transform. So we're going to transform between the two weapon index. Weapon index, or that would be weapon. Sorry, it would be weapon in transform. So we can transform between the two, allowing us. So we need to say, there we go, if weapon index. So if weapon index equals current weapon, so they're both at 0, we should be allowed to weapon dot set set active, or that way, yeah, it should be set active, shouldn't it? So weapon dot game object dot set active will then become true. Lovely, but we do have an else if as well because we want to. So if our weapon is on 0, well 0 is our weapon, is our pistol. So weapon index 0 equals our current weapon. That means the weapon.game object is set active to true. So that means our pistol is there. But what about our second weapon? So else, what's going to happen if we're not there with that? Oh, we've got too many brackets. There we go, we'll leave that like that, that's fine. Or was that too many as well? Oh, I don't know, where have all the brackets gone? No, that should be fine, because that's for that. Or do we need an extra one? What's going on? Nope. What's happening? Yep, that's fixed that. Cool, sorry, I deleted too many. Too many brackets. So else, what happens if we do that? So we need to say weapon again dot game object dot set active, and this is going to be false because what we can do here, we don't have to then go through the rigmarole again. We can just say we want one up. We want one up from 0, so we can say weapon index plus plus. As easy as that. Okay. Cool. So if we save this, go back to Unity, let that compile, see if that's okay with everything. See if our for each will work. So as we can see, weapon active is currently at 0. So if it's 0, that means it represents our pistol. So to make sure this works properly, we're going to set both of these to false or not active. So when we press play and on our weapons, we should have our current weapon at 0. So if we press play, our pistol should appear. Ooh, which it doesn't. Okay, so maybe we start the game with both of them on, should we? Let's try that, because we didn't actually set them to false right at the start. So let's make sure that hopefully this whole weird mess, so the shotgun should disappear on weapons. Oh, I know why it hasn't. We haven't an issue with our script. We haven't asked it when we want set weapon active to start. Well, we want it to work right at the start. So what we're going to say is set weapon active. There we go. Let's quickly save that. Cool, so this might now work with both of them grayed out. Or actually, let's make both of them in. Let's just make sure they're both in, just in case. So once they're there, we should, on weapons, because we've said current weapon is actually 0, we should just have our pistol here. So when we press play, we should just have our pistol. Lovely, fantastic. So if I then went escape and then changed this to 1, and went back into our game, Ooh, that didn't work, but let's have a look. Ah, because it's on start. Okay, so we put that in start. If that if this method was in update, then that would definitely work. So what we need to do is make sure when we do our button input for swapping around weapons is that we are definitely doing all of this within our update, or set weapon active is just in update. Cool, so let's say current weapon is 1. Let's just make sure this method is working quickly. Lovely, fantastic. So there is our shotgun. So that explains the simple premise of switching between our weapons. I'm going to set that to 0 because that is our first weapon. Okay, let's see if we can get this working within Unity using inputs. Okay, so let's get back into our script. So if we go to update, we are going to say integer previous weapon equals current weapon. Okay, so we need to switch, make sure we can switch between our shotgun and back to our pistol as well. So what, they are one and the same. Okay. So what we can do is, if we create in here, that's probably the best thing we can do in update, is say if we create a method called process key input, and then we can create our own key input method. So if you do this, cool, because we haven't got this method yet, we can right click, go to quick fix and generate a method for it. There we go, and then we can get rid of everything in there, just like that. Cool. So in the process, oh, actually, we could probably, just before this, we can just say if, oops, if previous weapon is not current weapon, what's going to happen? We're going to go to our default, which is our set, right back to the start, set weapon active. Cool, just in case we have an error or issue in there, that should fix that problem. So then our process key input, we should be able to say if we input dot get mouse button down. No, we don't want. We've used the mouse, haven't we? So we get key down, and then we can use key code dot alpha 1, which is going to be the number 1 on our keyboard. So if we press that, what's going to happen? Well, current weapon initially is going to equal 0, so that's going to be our pistol. So we can always go back to our pistol if we press the key 0, or the key 1, sorry. So and then we can also say if, so we're going to write the same again, but essentially for the shotgun, which will be the number 2. So if input dot get key down, got key code is dot alpha 2. We can then say current weapon equals 1. Lovely, fantastic. So let's save this scene and see if we have processed this key properly so we can switch between our weapons. Let's press play. Fantastic. So we've got our pistol. If I press 2, we go to our shotgun. If I press 1, we go back to R. And we can see there in the scene view that we are going in between our weapons, just pressing 1 or 2. Fantastic. Cool. Hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. I will see you very, very soon for the next part. Yeah, so now really before I finish up, you should be it should be a little bit more developed than this, your level now at the stage you're at. So you should have a number of enemies. That enemies should be a prefab. Let's just have a quick check. So that enemy should be a prefab. So create a bit of a challenge for your game. Add a load of these enemies in. Give yourself 15 enemies and 5 bullets, for example, and really test out the game of how you can make it a bit more of a challenge, because we've got a nice little gameplay loop going on in here now. So you should be able to test yourself and make the game a bit more of a challenge. Awesome, cool. See you soon. Hope you've enjoyed the video.